In Agra, India, there stands this masterpiece of architecture. It's a shining white tomb, and you've probably heard of it. It's one of the seven wonders of the modern world. But behind all that breathtaking beauty, there's a really heart-wrenching story of love, of loss, and an emperor's promise that literally changed the course of history. Okay, so let's get right into it. A monument of secrets. For a building that's nearly 400 years old, the Taj Mahal is just packed with some incredible secrets. We're going to look past those perfect postcard pictures and really uncover the mind-bending architectural tricks and the just staggering scale of this place. And that really brings us to the biggest question of all, right? How on earth was this marvel of engineering built almost 400 years ago with no concrete, no steel? Think about that. In an age without any of our modern construction tech, how was a building of this size, this perfection, even possible? Well, the answer reveals a level of genius that engineers today they still marvel at. So, just to put its value into perspective for a second, check this out. If someone tried to build the Taj Mahal today, the cost is estimated to be over 1 billion US dollars. That's just an almost unimaginable amount of money, and it really shows you the sheer wealth and resources that were poured into creating it. And you know what? It wasn't just about the money. Not even close. It was about the people. We're talking about a workforce of 20,000 laborers, sculptors, and master craftsmen. These people dedicated 22 straight years of their lives. Think about that, 22 years, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into raising this thing from the ground up. Okay, now here's where things get really clever. This is one of the first of many brilliant tricks. The Mughal architects who designed this, they were absolute masters of perspective. So as you walk towards the main gate, something strange happens. The Taj Mahal itself seems to get smaller, not bigger. It's this incredible optical illusion, and it's all designed to create this feeling of awe, of reverence, the closer you get. And the genius just keeps on coming. Look at the four minarets, right? Those towers that frame the main tomb. Well, they're not perfectly straight up and down. They actually lean just a tiny bit outwards, and this is for two brilliant reasons. First, visually, it's a trick. It stops them from looking like they're leaning inwards. But the second reason is pure practical genius. If there's ever an earthquake, the towers are designed to fall away from the main tomb, protecting it from being crushed. How smart is that? So you have to ask yourself, why? Why go to all this trouble, all these incredible lengths, these brilliant tricks to protect a building? Well, to get that answer, we need to rewind. We need to go back in time and uncover the why behind the Taj Mahal. And believe me, it all comes down to a love story that became completely immortal. So our story really kicks off back in 1607. A young prince, Khurram, who you'll know as Shah Jahan, he meets Mumtaz Mahal, and it's supposedly love at first sight. He goes on to become the emperor of the massive Mughal empire. And Mumtaz isn't just his favorite wife, she's his most trusted advisor. But then, tragedy strikes. In 1631, after 19 years of marriage, Mumtaz Mahal dies, giving birth to their 14th child. Her death absolutely shattered him. The stories say that the emperor went into this incredibly deep mourning, locking himself away for days on end. His grief was just so profound that it lit a fire. It became the catalyst for one of the most ambitious and honestly one of the most beautiful construction projects in all of human history. And it's because right before she died, Mumtaz Mahal made one last request of her husband. She asked him to build for me a tomb, the most beautiful the world has ever seen. And Shah Jahan, he took that wish to heart. He decided right then and there to dedicate his life and the entire wealth of his empire to making it happen. So how did they pull it off? How do you engineer an impossible dream? Well, keeping that promise meant they had to overcome these absolutely monumental engineering challenges. This wasn't just about a pretty design. No, this was about basically defying the laws of physics and nature, and doing it all with 17th century tools. Right off the bat, they hit a huge hurdle: the location. The spot they chose was right on the bank of the Yamuna River. Now, this is a big problem because the soil there is soft, it's unstable. It is literally the worst possible ground you could pick to build a massive, heavy marble structure on. Any normal foundation would just sink or get washed away. So, what do? Well, this is where the genius comes in again. The Mughal engineers came up with this incredibly clever solution: a well foundation. Here's how it worked. First, they dug a bunch of deep wells, all the way down until they hit solid dry ground. Then, they filled those wells up with rock and rubble, which basically created these super strong pillars deep inside the earth. And on top of that hidden network of pillars, that's where they built the massive stone foundation for the tomb. It was absolutely brilliant. And sitting on top of that incredible foundation is the famous central dome. This thing soars 40 meters into the air. Now, just think about building a dome that big and that heavy using only bricks and stone, no steel frame for support. It required these insanely precise calculations that honestly still blow architects' minds today. And the beauty wasn't just in the giant structure itself, it was in the tiny details. A lot of the amazing finish work was done using this technique called pietra dura. Basically what it is artists would carefully cut and carve out little hollows in the marble, and then inlay these perfectly shaped little pieces of valuable, semi-precious stones to create these gorgeous, intricate floral designs. So how did they get those little precious stones to stay in place for centuries? Well, they needed a special kind of glue, and researchers actually discovered what they used. It was this unique, organic mix. The emperor's secret recipe, if you will. It was made from shira, which is kind of like molasses, lemon juice, and fine marble powder. And get this, the formula was so good that they still use the exact same recipe for renovations on the Taj Mahal today. You know, the material they chose was also a huge part of its magic. The whole building is covered in this special Makrana marble, which many people think is the finest in the entire world. And this particular marble has this amazing translucent quality that makes the Taj Mahal look like it's changing color all day long. So at dawn, before the sun comes up, it looks black. In the morning, it gets this light yellow and pinkish glow. In the afternoon, it's a brilliant, blinding white. And then at sunset, it turns this magnificent golden color. Just incredible. So after 22 long years of nonstop work, it was finally done. The tomb was complete. Shah Jahan had kept his promise to his wife. But this grand gesture came at a ridiculously steep price, and it led to a really sad final chapter in the emperor's life. I mean, the amount of money and resources they funneled into this one project for over 2 decades was just staggering. It was so much, in fact, that it basically pushed the entire mighty Mughal empire right to the brink of bankruptcy. And then, just 4 years after his masterpiece was finished, the unthinkable happens. Shah Jahan is overthrown and thrown in prison by his own son, who grabs the throne for himself. So the emperor who built the most beautiful tomb in the world actually died as a prisoner. In the end, he was finally laid to rest right next to his beloved Mumtaz, inside the very monument he built for her. And this is where the tragic irony really hits home. For the last 8 years of his life, Shah Jahan was locked up in the Agra fort, and his only comfort, his only connection to his past life, was a single window. And from that window, he could just gaze across the river at the Taj Mahal, a constant, beautiful, painful reminder of his love and of everything he had lost. Which really leaves us with one final big question. What is the Taj Mahal? Is it the ultimate monument to true love, a promise kept no matter the cost? Or is it a monument to one man's magnificent, all-consuming obsession, a beautiful but ultimately ruinous quest for perfection? Maybe, in the end, it's both.